Hey everybody, what's up? It's Mike here from The Art of Guitar. I'm wearing my blue contacts that seem to freak people out. They think I have some weird twin brother or something like that. But I like to wear these sometimes. I think it's because when I was a kid, some girl on the playground said that I had poopy colored eyes. So I've been a little bit insecure, I think, ever since, but I can't help it. Anyways, I wanted to do a video today about something that I was a little bit maybe hesitating on because I thought it might seem like some weird flex or something to talk about what it's like to play stadiums. But then I realized I've had a lot of questions from my subscribers and my students about what it's really like. Because when you go see a big concert, it just seems so cool, with the big lights, the huge PA system, the crowd going crazy, and it must be really amazing to be on stage. That's what I thought. So when I got my first opportunity was back in 2007, and I remember it so vividly because I had just done one studio session with this group called Minnesota's Finest, and it was just this R&B group that was up and coming. And one day, all out of nowhere, my friend Christopher, the drummer for my old teenage metal band, he started recording people, and he was recording this band. And he was like, "Do you want to play a gig with these guys?" And I guess it's at Jingle Ball, which is going to be at the Target Center. And my heart kind of sped up. I was like, whoa, Target Center, that would be crazy. So I said yes. We had two rehearsals. The next thing I know, a week had gone by and we're playing the show. So we're driving to the stadium, and it was really weird to pull up to a different area of an entrance instead of just the front entrance waiting in line. We were in the back area. And I remember going inside and hearing a sound check happening. I forgot who it was, but it was someone who was on American Idol or something, was doing a sound check. Jordan something, I don't know, Sparks. Anyway, so we get there and we're walking around. And it was so cool to be able to just walk around the floor because I usually sit way up high whenever I go to concerts. I'm usually not getting really good tickets. So it was cool to actually be on the floor, walk right up to the stage, have a little thing around my neck, a pass that I could go anywhere, and it felt really cool. And so I got to walk around with the band a little bit backstage. And next thing I knew, we were walking by rooms, and I'd look inside, and I saw the guys from Good Charlotte in there. Saw Avril Lavigne, and actually, she did like a photo op with a bunch of fans later on. And I stood in line, and I was the next one to get my picture taken with her. And then they called it off, and they're like, "Avril's got to go," and they sort of like threw a blanket over her and ran her out the door. I don't know why I remember it that way. And I was like, damn, even when I'm playing the gig, I can't meet Avril Lavigne. But it was cool just to play a show with so many big names on it because, like I said, backstage it was just kind of crazy to all of a sudden walk by Timberland and go, oh, that, I guess that's the guy that I hear on the radio all the time. So we hung out in the back a little bit, and when it was time to go on, it was a little bit nerve-wracking because the actual band was going to play three songs, and then my friend and I were going to come up on stage and just play the last few songs with them. But the first three songs went a little bit too long, so they're like, we might just cut the end of the set. So you guys might not be able to get on stage. And by this time, I was a little bit relieved actually because the crowd had filled in. And even though they were the first opening act, there was still a lot of people in the seats. So we just sat there and I just kind of said, okay, whatever's going to happen is meant to be. I'm not going to freak out if we can't go on. And even if we can't go on, maybe it's a relief. I don't have to go up there and, possibly make a fool out of myself in front of tens of thousands of people. So I wasn't very confident in myself just because it was my first huge gig like that. Luckily, though, the stage manager came up and said, okay, it looks like we can get you guys on, but you can only do one song. So we went up. I remember holding my guitar, just praying that I wasn't going to break a string because I didn't have a backup. Just because we packed light, just because we were the opening act, and we didn't want to bring all of our stuff. So I really had one guitar, and I was just praying I wasn't going to break a string. And my amp was already on stage. It was really cool. They had some stage hands that took care of all that. It was nice to actually have some roadies for once. And I stepped up on the stage and just felt the lights. And because the lights were so blinding, I couldn't really see the full crowd. I could really only see the front of the floor area and some of the sides. And the lights blinded me. I couldn't really see the rest of the crowd, even though it went all the way back and was pretty full at the time. It just seemed like a lot of blurry static everywhere, and you could see lights and everything. And I was kind of afraid to look at the crowd too much because I thought I would get caught up in that and forget what I was playing. So then the band started, and the monitors were really loud. They sounded great. So all I had to do was play along, and my part was pretty simple because it was just an R&B tune with just a groove going on for the whole thing. And so I was towards the back, and I kept looking at my friend who was playing keyboards, And we just kept looking at each other like, I can't believe this is really happening. This is so great. Well, that song felt like it was about 30 seconds long. Even though it was probably 4 minutes long, the time just flew by. And next thing I knew, the dancers were walking past me and they're like, come on, let's go. And I had to shut my amp off. And as I walked out, I kind of turned around and just looked at the crowd thinking, man, I'm never going to see this again. This is amazing. Had goosebumps and everything. Didn't even remember really playing the song. And the rest of the night was so fun because we were all relieved because we got through it and we were excited from the rush of it. And we got to stay in one of these box suites or whatever that I was never able to go into before. Like I said, I always just got the cheap seats whenever I saw concerts usually. But we were back at the suite watching the rest of the bands, and Kanye West was supposed to headline, but he never showed up. So I remember watching Avril Lavigne and Good Charlotte and all those bands, and then Timberland went up and he had to stall. So there was a point in time where he just sat down and was like talking with the audience. And the second time I played a stadium was I did a video for it already about Weezer. I won that contest, so I was able to go up on stage and play along with them for 3 songs. And it was great because the experience of being backstage with all the other people and having Brian come up and teach us some of the chord progressions that we were going to be playing. So it was really cool to work with him and to be able to play the XL Energy Center that was in St. Paul, Minnesota. And that was a packed house. I remember it was a weird time because I had just broken up with my fiance at the time. It was 2008. And she actually came along with me, which seems kind of weird, but so it was kind of fun to be able to go up on stage. She was there watching, and it was cool to have somebody you knew experience it with you, even if we had just broken up and it was weird. And just to see Weezer in front of us playing in their red jumpsuits, it was just very surreal. And once again, you don't get too worked up about the amount of people that are watching you simply because the lights blind you. Now, if they were to light up just the audience and take the lights off the stage, I bet you I would have freaked out a little bit. And just to see that and to realize that they're all watching you play could probably paralyze me if I thought about it too much. The difference from the first stadium gig was that people were there to see Weezer. And so when we got done playing a song, the crowd roared and you just saw all the faces of everybody in the on the floor level just having the time of their lives, just smiling and freaking out and waving their hands and holding signs and everything. It was great, as opposed to the first gig where people didn't really know the band that much, so they kind of got the applause, the quiet applause. When we played with Weezer, the whole place was just on fire. After every song, it just felt like the crowd was so appreciative and loving every minute of it. So really got swept up in that feeling. Remember, at that time, I was playing in country bands. So maybe a week or two before that, I was playing a very small bar called the Red Fox Bar, and we played for maybe 20 people, and we barely had a PA system. We were running the lights from the stage with a foot switch that we were doing ourselves. We had no light guy, no sound guy, or anything like that. So to go from a small dive bar gig to playing with Weezer on stage, it's just like my head was spinning. I just couldn't believe the contrast between those two gigs. And then the third and fourth times that I was able to play a stadium was for the Twins Target Field games. And it was one of these things where I was playing with my friend Mark, and he just called me up. He's like, "You want to play between some of the innings for the Twins game?" I was like, yeah, that should be fun. We get to watch a baseball game, get to play for all those people. And they're pretty packed crowds. I remember one of them was almost all full. The other one wasn't that full. But still, even a half full stadium like Target Field is a lot of people. They're just a little bit more spread out. And one of the times we got cut short because around the seventh inning, it started pouring out. And the rain just came out of nowhere and just came down so hard. And we're all standing there with our gear on. I mean, I had my tube amp there. It was kind of scary. And so we had to tear down super fast. They were trying to bring out tarps, but by then everything already had gotten wet. So we had moved all our gear out of the way and just had to wait for the place to empty out. And then after they had left, we just kind of sat there with all this wet gear and loaded out the back alleyway. And it was crazy. I don't know how many of you guys are baseball fans, but we're standing there waiting for the truck to pull up so we can put our gear in it. And all of a sudden, Tony Oliva walks by. And my bass player and I were huge fans of his through our whole lives. So we're like, is that Tony Oliva? This is crazy. He's just standing right there. So we went up and just talked to him, and he actually saw the band play, and he thought it was really good. So it was just an exciting thing to be at that level of a gig because you meet some really cool people that you've always looked up to your whole lives or you've been fans of. I have great memories for the smallest gigs I've done and for those few giant gigs in stadiums that I was fortunate enough to experience. It's so weird how playing this piece of wood with strings on it can get you so many crazy places that I would have never dreamed of. When I was a kid watching bands in stadiums, I would have never thought that be able to play those same stages just because I play this thing. So yeah, who knows? If you play guitar or whatever instrument you play, if you keep at it long enough, weird things like this can happen. I never expected to get these phone calls to play these things, but I think once in a while, if you stick to something long enough, good things come to you as sort of a reward for sticking to it. And I'm glad it happened that way. I'm glad it wasn't just like, hey, automatically you get to play these giant places, because I don't know if I would have appreciated them as much as I did because I had played the smallest gigs as well. All right, so that was just a fun little video about playing stadiums. Hopefully that answers some questions for some of my viewers, and I guess we'll catch you at the next lesson. Thanks, you guys. Bye.